Hey, what's up, everybody? It's about 2:32 on a Monday morning. Just got finished doing the typing version, final draft version for my mom's homework. I'll probably talk about that tomorrow, later on, when it's more daytime out. um, but first of all, before I talk about this, I do want to update on something that somebody commented me about on my looking at the Ian Flynn speculation from all sides, and they kind of commented, well, what about those that like Ian Flynn because he does the stories darker and edgier and stuff like that? Well, that you can add to those that are fans of his, even going back to Other M and kind of sticking by him because, he's basically one of us, one of the fans that has made it to becoming a writer for the comics. So I think you could stick it in that area. They like what he does, not just because of what he writes, but because he's one of us. And I think you could stick in that category as well. So, again, it's like I said in that video, there are fans that like him overall for what he does, who he is, and how he writes stuff. There are those that like him but are not afraid to say, hey, look, you could do this and that and to really improve and make yourself better. There are those that just don't like his writing style. They don't hate him. They like him as a person, but they just don't like his writing style and how he writes stories. And feel he's better off being a fan writer again. And then there are those that just don't like him overall because, they feel he's not being truthful. He's not being straightforward, and the fact that in their minds he's basically writing stories for his own amusement and stuff like that. So, and he doesn't give a damn about character development or anything as well. And the same goes for those that do like him. They just feel, hey, his writing just doesn't show he cares about the characters. So again, if you want to look at those that are fans of him because he likes to make things darker and edgier, you could put that in the category of fans and supporters of his that have been with him since the days he was one of us and the days he was writing and stuff. As well as you could put that in the category of people that don't like his writing because he is too dark and edgy at times, and they don't like him personally because of that. And also put it in the category of those that do like him but don't like the way he writes stories dark and edgy at times. Well, you get the idea. But yeah, I forgot to mention that, and I do apologize. But getting on to the topic at hand. Getting on to the topic at hand. L.A. That's what we're going to call this person again. L.A. One day and 10 hours ago. Basically about 35 hours ago, if you will. 35 hours ago. Essentially, sent this about 35 hours ago. They sent this. They put this up one day ago, basically about 35 hours ago. And this is what they said. As you can see right there, the title is L.A. discusses character design affects viewers' perceptions. It says, does character design affect viewers' perceptions? And, well, that's not how they titled it here. How they titled it was like this. They titled it, Character Design Does Affect Viewers' Perceptions. And I just made it into a question, basically, for this video. But they basically point out 4 situations. They have it kind of outlined in numeral in 4 different subjects. But this is what L.A. said 34 hours ago, one day, 10 hours ago. This is what they said, and I quote, "In the visual medium of comic books and video games, a character's design is a very important step in the creative process. A design for a character is to give visual hints on the personality of that character through the body language used, the proportions and body build, the clothes they wear, and how they style their hair. So based upon how they are drawn can affect how the readers/players view them, and especially how the creative staff that made said character is written. That is very important to make a good it's very important to make a good design from the get-go. If your design is bad, then your character will suffer as a result. Now, there is some misspellings and miswordings here, so I'll provide a link so you can read it down below yourself. Alright. The difference between a good, continuing on, quoting LA, the difference between a good design and a bad one are based on what elements are out of balance. And this is where the numbered elements come in. Number 1, character proportions. Depending on how you want a character to be drawn, the proportions can dictate what age they are. Smaller body and bigger head fits the proportions of a child versus a taller body and smaller head of an adult. Don't give the wrong proportions to characters that aren't meant to be children. It gives the wrong impression to the audience that these characters are small children, but in truth are actually young adults instead. Number 2, facial structure. The face can either make a character look like a small child or an adult based on how the eyes are placed on the head. Do not place the eyes lower on a face. Do not place the eyes lower on a face meant for a character that isn't a child, unless it's meant for joking around moments in the story. Alright. Number 3. Clothes and other accessories. Just like in real life, the clothes that a character chooses to wear gives the first impression of who they are personality-wise. Putting on clothes that belong on a childish, spunky kid on a character who's not a kid and is mature gives a total different impression than having the mature character wear adult clothes, especially if the character that got the kiddified clothes would never wear such things and is out of character for them. Number 4, body language. How a person holds themselves in real life has the same effect on a fictional one. Body language is very important to get right from the get-go, since it sets the tone of how this character shows his or her personality to the audience and can affect how they see that character. One character holds himself in a confident pose, placing his hand on his hip while holding the other up, giving the thumbs up with a big grin, while another holds herself a bit slumped over and a bit with a slight defensive posture in how she holds her hands behind her back. Now this is all basically posted on a new group, if you will, over at DA, and I think some of you may know what that group is. But what LA is basically trying to say there, and I think we all know what he's pointing at, or trying to describe, is the redesign that Sally got, and basically the redesign that possibly the other Satyam characters here could get. Basically, even though it is a rough draft, what LA is trying to say there, most importantly, because you can tell it's about the Sally situation, and maybe even the Satyam cast, is you don't need to do this. You don't, in his mind, in their mind, in his mind, his or her mind, you do not need to, as they look at it just from that rough draft, kidify your characters. You don't need to go out and say, okay, we're going to put a vest on them, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and make them look like a child, when if you were to look at a description of them, or bio of them, it would say they're not. And when people pick up the encyclopedia, like I'm going to be getting hopefully by this Tuesday, pretty much they're going to see Sally is not a young kid. Now, unless it has to do something with a story arc, another story arc that follows after this, then that's an entirely different story. It's like I mentioned before. In typed written format, as well as in video format, like I've mentioned before, I would not be surprised if the reason maybe for this design that made her, as LA and many others have put it, made her look like a kid, made her look young, I wouldn't put it past Ian if maybe his next story arc is to have time be reversed and kind of take a page out of the third and final season of the Power Rangers and have all the main characters, freedom fighters here, kiddified. In other words, have them shrink in age. And that would create an interesting aspect, because here you would have the characters possibly still mature and still have the memories and still be the mature adult selves, but be trapped in a kid's body until they can reverse time. I mean, quite honestly, that could be what he's aiming for, but let's not judge exactly what he's got planned just yet. But just by reading that, I'm pretty sure a lot of you, just by hearing me read that and probably reading to yourselves, you probably see exactly, like I said, who he's talking about and what other characters he's talking about. Basically what it is on his part and many others' part is what they saw with that rough draft design, with that rough concept draft design, was nothing more than a kid version of Sally. Not the Sally they know, but a kid version. And again, like I said, unless it's part of some kind of big plan that de-ages all the characters into kid age with the memories and maturities, intact, a la third final season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, then who's to say yay or nay about it, right? The point I'm trying to make is this. We can't judge it because, as Ian has said, as many others have said, and even I've said it, it's not the final design just yet. And even if it is, it's still Sally. You could still see her in the face that it's Sally. You could still see it. And it's like Ian has said, it's like other people have said, whether they like Ian or not. They have all said, hey, we may not like what he's doing, this design, but you know what? It's still her. They've even said, hey, we may not like it, but it's not totally official yet. It's not the final design. Maybe they will add the cheek tufts, if you will. Maybe they will add the pieces of fur. Maybe they will make her face more Sally-like, if you know what I mean. Maybe they will make her more proportioned out, if you know what I'm saying. And let's not forget, last year, when they did the Mecha Sally revelation, we were all told by TSSZ that was the official, Sally was officially going to be like that going forward. We knew, many of us knew it wasn't going to be like that forever. Many probably feared it would be, especially when she was weaponized, but we all figured that was all part of something bigger, or all part of something, and it was, and it is. So, again, we just got to sit back and wait. But if you want to read what LA had to say, I'll provide the link down below. But again, you pretty much understand who he's talking about and what other characters he's talking about. So comment below if you like. Video responses are welcome, and I'll talk to you all later.